Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Julius DeBerry with Majestic Studios, and today I got another video for you, but it is not a tutorial. We're not talking about anything specific as far as teaching you guys anything with keyboards, but today I wanted to come to you guys and just chat a bit about the new hot topic on the streets, the red hot topic, of course, the new Nord Stage 4. Very few things that I can just sit and talk about like keyboards, and when a new one comes out and getting a look at all the specs and the things on paper that they put out as far as information on what the keyboard does and features and things like that, it's kind of hard to resist checking out keyboards when something new comes out. And today it's been pretty funny seeing some of the things that have been being said, and about the cost and the features and just who's getting one, who's not. So I decided to put a video out just to come and talk about my viewpoint and some things that I noticed. I took a few notes looking around at the comparisons and the spec sheet on the new Nord Stage 4. So I just wanted to come and share my thoughts with you guys. Please feel free to put your thoughts and comments down in the comment section, and I'll be sure to read them and check them out. And let me know, are you planning to get a Nord Stage 4? If you're not getting a Nord Stage 4, what are you currently using? And what are your reasons for not getting it? I'd love to see what you guys are thinking. But anyway, we're going to jump right into this, and I'm going to go over these things that I got to say. Let's go. All right, and so don't expect anything crazy as far as the edits or anything. There's not going to be anything. This is just me talking a bit about the keyboard, and of course, like I said, just want to kind of see what you guys think. So I'm just going to go down the list of some of the things that I wrote down. I think one of the top things, well, not top things, but one of the things that they mentioned very early in their information page about the keyboard, like one of the first new features, and like I said, one of the first features they mentioned, and I've never had a Nord keyboard. Let me state that first. I have never owned a Nord keyboard. I have had extremely limited experience with them. I have very close friends that use them. I have done research on them, done some reading, and I'm a Korg boy at heart. For me, it's Korg, then Roland, then Yamaha. And Yamaha maybe sometimes can creep up a little bit closer to Roland, but normally there's a pretty big gap between Roland and Yamaha for me. And Nord's never really been on my radar like that. Sure, it wasn't on anybody's radar, and I guess as far as the our church community, or my church community, wasn't on anybody's radar like that, probably maybe prior to 3 or 4 years ago. And now it's like the talk of the town. It's like Nord, and it's crazy, and it's well worth it. They are a respectable brand, and they have a lot going for them as it relates to the sound, and what you can accomplish using those keyboards. So they deserve to get the buzz that they're getting. I'm not sure about the price, but it is what it is, and there is some value there as far as that keyboard is concerned. So anyway, one of the first things that I noticed when I went to kind of start researching what this new one was about, one of the first things that I saw was the layer scene. And see, what it seems like it's allowing is you have two setups. And it allows you to seamlessly switch between the two. So you can have a layer set up on your A side of the board, and you can have a layer set up on your B side of the board, and you're able to switch back and forth between those, and there's no cutoff in sound. So that's great for live performance. I know that's something that during a live performance, when you're playing your keyboard and you have to switch sounds between songs, you don't want there to be a cutoff. Some other keyboard brands have had that for a while now, namely Korg has for a very, very long time. But it is a very, very important feature, and they are pushing that as one of the features on this Nord Stage 4. So it says, I'm looking at the ability to set up two different layers and then switch back and forth with no cutoff in sound. So one of the things that I'm wondering, though, is within those two setups, are you able to, like, if I'm on setup A and then I need to transition to setup B for song 2. And then song 3 is a different setup that's not on A or B. Can I go to a different sound or a different setup or a different layer on part A? So now once I'm done with the second song on part B, I can go back to part A, and now it's a different sound than was there for the first song. So basically, can you switch between setups while you're playing one of the other setups? That would be very useful. And I'm kind of wondering if they have that ability there. Like I said, on cork boards, the Nautilus, the Chronos, you can, and even I think the Phantom, there's a set list mode where you can switch between. I mean, there's an unlimited number of sounds that you can switch from at any given moment, but that's there. So the layer scene, that's a new big thing for them. The increased sample RAM. They have increased the sample RAM from, 480 megabytes to 1 gigabyte. And we're going to talk about this a little bit more in the next section, but this is where you would load the samples as far as your rompler is concerned. They've increased that space for the ability for that. They've also increased the piano, the sample space allotted for the acoustic piano. It is now 2 gigabytes, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later too. So that's a big deal. Sampling space is huge. People want to be able to load as many sounds as they can into the keyboard to be able to use at any given moment. So having the ability to have those sounds at your disposal and access to them, that's a good thing. The third thing I wrote down is the synth section. So I have the synth section. This is, I guess, where the kind of the rompler part of what would be in the Nord. And I got that because it mentioned that strings right here. An extensive new collection of samples from the Nord sample library offers a broad sonic palette of strings, bass, choirs, guitars, and much more. So to me, I think that's like the bread and butter sounds. When you get to start mentioning stuff like strings and guitars, those are like the ROM, the stuff that's built into the keyboard. And like I said, they've increased that sample size from 480 to 1 gigabyte. So they added some more sounds. Let's look at that back up here. Yep, so they added some more sample space for you guys to be able to load new sounds, or maybe they've updated their ROM engine and added new samples in there for the keyboard. Let's see. This synth section not only houses the bread and butter sounds, but also it houses the synth engine that's based on the Nord Wave 2. So this is where this area of the keyboard also holds your virtual analog engine. Of course, I already mentioned the samples for the rompler, and also you being able to load your own samples into the board. And the wavetable is also housed in this same section. This section boasts 3 independent layers. So what that means is you can have 3 sounds within that layer, and they're all independent of each other. So I'm guessing the parameters as far as the editing and the programming functions, you can edit those, maybe the ADSR, things like that can be adjusted and moved around independent of each other. I know some keyboards, when you layer sounds within a section, they're all going to share. They're going to share a common programming stage, but then sometimes you have the ability to edit them at the individual level as well. So you can do that here, 3 independent layers, being able to load 3 sounds and adjust them independently of each other. So that's cool too. The fourth thing is something that's pretty cool, and I've mentioned this in some of my previous videos. My greatest of all time keyboards in my book. There's a mode in the Roland Phantom G that was introduced, and it's an external MIDI mode. And so they have an external mode. Now, I'm not sure if this was available before in the other Nords, but they made specific mention of it with the announcement of this keyboard. So I wanted to be sure to mention it because I think it's a very dope feature to have, and we'll get into why a little bit later as well. The external mode allows you to control things outside of the keyboard via MIDI. Most likely it's going to allow the control of external MIDI devices, whether it be sound modules, possible computers, or another keyboard. And you can control that all from the Nord's primary control surface and interface between the other keyboards. All right, so that's pretty cool. That allows keyboardists to, have a plethora of other sound sources at their disposal, being able to use MIDI and then control the MIDI from the Nord, and not necessarily having to touch and feel on that instrument, but being able to control things directly from the Nord. That's pretty cool. Fifth thing I have written down is the organ section. Now, nobody picks a keyboard on purpose for organ if they have an option to play the real thing. Now, when I say option, that is a very loose but also well-defined term, because if an organ is available to you, you probably would rather play the real organ. But because of transportation issues with the weight and then being able to get it back and forth, sometimes having a real organ is not always the best option. So having a great alternative is always good to have, and Nord provides that with their organ. Their full-blown organ setup is one of the best emulations I've heard. It is one of the top ones. And then them putting their organ engine in this keyboard, it's been in others previously, but it is it's a nice emulation, with lots of parameters for you to go in and tweak and make it sound the way you want it to sound and make it fit you. You have the ability to make it sound great, and it probably sounds great right out of the box, but I know there's a lot of parameters that are allowed and you have access to as far as tweaking the sound. Then the really, really cool thing is these real organ drawbars. The real organ drawbars are on the keyboard now. I know some of the previous Nords, they had the little buttons that you could push and watch the LEDs go up or down to let you know that if basically the position of the drawbar, technically you would look at the LEDs, the lights, and that would tell you whether it was pushed all the way in or pulled all the way out. But they have had organs that do have the drawbars as well. But they weren't on the stage. So now this keyboard having the drawbars on it, I think that's a great plus for them. Let's see. They have two different modes. There are two different modes for the drawbars. There's a preset mode and a live mode. So the preset mode is probably preset drawbar settings. You can probably switch between them quickly. They're already set, and you probably push a button and it changes between different presets in real time. And you can probably set your own as well, your own presets, and save them, and then we can just push a button without having to move the drawbars to get the desired effect. You can just switch straight to it. So if you don't want to fool the drawbars on stage, you're used to using the keyboard where you're just picking the sound for your organ sound as opposed to drawbars. You can probably set them the way you want them to sound, the way you want the organ to sound, then save it and be able to recall it at whatever moment. But there is also a live drawbar mode where, just like you're playing a real Hammond, a B3, or an A100, you can move the drawbars in and out and have the sound of the organ respond to your drawbar movements in real time. So that's also really cool. And like I said, there's 9 drawbars. One thing that I'm wondering, I'm pretty sure, but I didn't see anything about this, being able to use the drawbars as a fader control when you're layering sounds. The Nord now has the ability to layer 8 live programs, which is my next thing that I wanted to talk about. Being able to layer 8 programs while you're playing and being able to use drawbars to control them, that would be really cool. But I think some friends were saying that before Nord only allowed you to layer 4 sounds, or may have been less than that even, but now being able to come up to 8, that is a pretty good thing for them. But something that you always have to think about and be conscious of when you're layering sounds is your ability to make sure your polyphony is not cutting off on you. So that was one of the things I went and looked for. That's always one of the first things I look for. I look for aftertouch to see if a keyboard has it, and I always look for polyphony because I know that's very important in the church community. We like to layer sounds, and we don't want our sounds cutting off on us. We want a big, thick sound. People are layering, many sounds to make the sound be big and full like they want it to be. So polyphony is very important. So that's one of the things I want to look at. And on this Nord Stage 4, I want to let you know that the polyphony for the piano engine, the polyphony is divided among the engines themselves. They have their own polyphony. It's not shared among the whole keyboard. So the piano has 120 voices. That's less than the normal 128 that you're seeing on today's standards. As far as keyboards is concerned, you would think that 128 is the minimum number of voices that you'll need for an entire keyboard. So that's cool for an entire keyboard. But this 120 is just for the piano engine. 128 is really low. To be honest, 128 is kind of low for an entire keyboard these days. You would think we would start stepping those numbers up, like we could be in the 256 range by now or something like that. But 120 voices for just the piano, that is outstanding. You should be able to do plenty of arpeggios or, key pulls where you're grabbing notes, big clusters at the same time. I can't remember exactly what they call them, the rumbles at the bottom of the keyboard, or when we slide our fingers down the piano as effects while we're playing. You should be good with 120 voices. And like I said, that is just for the piano engine only. So from there, then it says the organ has full polyphony. So I'm wondering, does that mean that just like a real organ, you can play every note at once if you want to, and it's not going to the notes won't cut off? When it says full polyphony, I'm wondering if that's what it means. I'm assuming that's what it means, that the organ can play all the notes, all organ notes at one time. But that is just for the organ engine. So if you have a sound that is utilizing the organ engine, full polyphony. Piano engine, 120 voice polyphony. And then here is the kicker, and I think this is going to be a very interesting point for people. The synth engine, where I told you the rompler sits, where as far as you loading your samples, and also being able to utilize a rompler within the keyboard, that is only 48 voices. Now, what makes that interesting is 48 seems like a lot. It says, remember, the section can be divided into 3 individual sounds, and so that will be 16 voices per sound. So 16 times 3 is 48. And with only 10 fingers, and if you can put your thumbs on 2 fingers each, that is 10. That is 10. That will be 10, 11, 4 on one hand plus 2 your thumb across 2 notes. So that's 4, 5, 6. And then the same thing on this hand. So that will be 12 notes that you could play at a time. So 16, you would think 16 voices is plenty. But here's the kicker. That would be if each voice only has one tone. So one thing that I'm not sure about yet with Nord is how they allocate their tones. On cork boards, motif boards, rolling boards, a sound or a patch, a program at its basic level is made up of tones, and the number of tones stack. So you may have a program on Korg or on a voice on Roland that has this made up of 4 tones, and when you strike one key, it is actually triggering 4 tones, so that counts for 4 voices of polyphony. So I'm not sure if that's the exact same way the Nord is set up, to where within those 3 sounds you can have tones that make up each one of those sounds within the 3. So in 3 sounds, you have 3 sounds, and one of the sounds has 3 tones, another of the sounds has 3 tones, and then the third sound has 3 tones. So that means when I push one note, I'm not triggering 3 voices of polyphony, I'm triggering 9. And so if you're doing that, if that is exactly what's happening, and people have these big sounds as part of those 3 individual sounds, or a lot of tones to make up those 3 individual sounds, then now pushing one note, for example, if it's 3 tones, that's 9. If it's 2, 4, 6, that's 6 tones. So that's 6 voices of polyphony. So it really is going to boil down to exactly how they allocate their voices and their tones as to how the polyphony will be calculated. But just for example, if it is 3 tones per sound in that individual set, one finger playing one note is 9 tones. So 9 voices of polyphony. So if you are playing a 3-finger chord, 3 times 9 is 27. And that is 27 voices of your polyphony gone right there, of your 48. So that could be a significant issue. Maybe not a problem, but an issue or something that people just have to kind of get used to. All right, so that's it. Those are the things that I, in my initial screening and looking over of the Nord Stage 4, those are the things that stuck out to me through reading through the specs and looking at the comparison sheet. I'm sure I'll be able to look into it a little bit more, and some more information will come out as the days go on. And I'll definitely reach out and get another video done if some information is updated or I find something new and interesting. But I wanted to share what I found and give you guys my opinion of it. I think it's going to be a cool keyboard. Like I said, I've never had one before. Never had a Nord before. Oh yeah, the price point. They're asking like right at $6,000. I think it's like $5,700 and some change. So after tax, you're definitely looking over $6,000, and that is a hefty price for a keyboard, especially in today's economy. So this keyboard will not be for everybody. This is going to be a piece that I'm not going to say few will have, but few will have compared to, let's say, motifs and stuff like that. You know, if you were getting MODXs because you didn't want to pay for a montage, then this is probably going to be out of your range. But who knows? You know, if you want something, save for it, figure out a way to get it. And I think it could be well worth the purchase. It is expensive. It is expensive. And looking at the comparison sheet, let me pull that up. The comparison chart, I did see some differences between the Stage 3 and the Stage 4, but nothing just jumped out to me to say, oh my gosh, the Stage 3 is trash now and you have to update to the 4. There was also nothing that just made me say, oh my gosh, I have to get the 4 instead of the 3. So like somebody like me that doesn't have one, you know, the 3 might have just become a little bit more appealing because they're going to hit the used market and people are going to be trying to off them and getting as much as they can for them so they can upgrade to the 4. So once the market gets flooded just with normal supply and demand, the price is going to go down. So maybe able to cop us a used Stage 3 to test out and play. And for somebody like me that doesn't know the difference, well, I'm not going to say I don't know the difference, but I've never had one. The Stage 3 would probably be more than enough for me to get my feet wet with the Nord ecosystem and seeing what they have to offer. So that's something you guys should consider. If you don't have a keyboard and you've been looking at Nords, this could be a way for you to jump into a 3 for significantly cheaper than you would have been able to get one for a month ago. So that's what I'm looking at. I'm not saying that I'm not considering the 4, but I am also looking at this outside of my eye at the 3s. Like I said, just to get my hands on one and see what they're about, see what the fuss is about, and make sure they warrant the buzz that they're getting. I'm pretty sure they are. Like I said, some people I respect a lot play Nord, and so it's got to be worth what people are saying. So, like I said, I just wanted to share this with you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope there was some information here that you were looking for, something interesting that I said that maybe helps you make your decision. Like I said, leave comments below. I love to read comments. I love to read and talk about keyboards. So if you guys have any questions, any concerns, or want me to look at anything specific as far as the keyboard is concerned, let me know and we'll talk about it. See you guys in the next video. Don't forget, please like, share, and subscribe. Majestic Studios, Julius DeBerry, we're out.